Must be one of those reviews without a story cut to question the view on why it needs it. Anyways, here's some outdated crap. Oh look, it's the entry everyone knows. This is gonna be short. Nadeo's Trackmania is a series where you drive around tracks made in a block-based course editor much akin to the game's stunts, which you can also use to create them and share it to dedicated websites. Creativity is the main selling point, and it had moderate success since the 2003 original and Sunrise. And then Nadia unexpectedly threw out a freebie at us. Trackmania Nations, or as the full title calls it, Trackmania Nations Electronic Sports World Cup. This was released in late January of 2006 for PC only, specifically made for the aforementioned ESWC and Esports Championship. Now considering that it's free, this is my first Trackmania game. I had a blast driving around, discovering new tracks by the community, and making my own crazy tracks that I uploaded to TM Exchange. When I was called Deadname, my childhood was shit. You have imagined what why are? What kind of phrase is this? Despite that disaster of a name, I was actually known as Formula in the game, which was 10 times better but also generic. No wonder SassPD22 and Van Sassy Patty were better changes, although I was questioning if I'm Irish when I brought up that latter. Alright, enough stalling, let's take a trip down memory lane. Okay, downloaded the file, installed the game, and HALT! Don't just start right away, because if you do, you're treated with... For some reason, this game needs Star Force to run. A free game, which you download on the internet, has copy protection. Even worse is Star Force, which can damage your disk drive and on newer OSs can break your PC even, forcing you to reinstall it. I would update the thing, but I don't want to risk it, so I followed the tutorial from Radioaktivnish and installed the patches, downloaded the thing, replaced the files, and... it totally works. Except online. It's 2020, we have nations forever, who cares? There's a campaign thing where every track that they are made is unlocked from the start, includes the Pro A tracks when you click the Browse Tracks button. 90 tracks divided by 3 difficulties, starting from A0 to I9, from the bladdest to the unique ones. Then there's Hot Seat, which is local multiplayer in one PC. It's not split screen, it's just taking turns. But there's land mode though. Editor is where you create stuff, I'll get to that, and Profiles is where you change cars, controls, and your nickname. Since Sunrise Extreme, you cannot custom models to spice up your game a bit. Want to make your name stand out? Type in $, then a value from 000 to FFF to change the color. You can also type in I, W, O, and an S for different text styles. You could do it anywhere in the title, it's a lot similar to HTML really. I wondered how people manage to have such unique looking titles for their tracks. Now you and I know. Seems dirty of me to bring it up first, but let's talk about presentation. It looks alright for an early 2006 game, mostly green and grey, and my Portuguese car isn't helping matters, but it's still pleasing to the eye. I love the design of these cars, a bit futuristic for the time, and honestly, I find it more gorgeous than the new one in 2020. Don't know why it needs intermediate tires though. The shadows are a mixed bag depending on the hardware. When the setup is done installing the game, it gives you some information that Nadea recommends using NVIDIA cards for better looking shadows. Wonder why they didn't fix the shadows for AMD/ATI fellows like me. The shadows look like shit in here. Oh, my poor APU is displaying such garbage at me. I guess complex shadows will fix that? Nope, it's worse. I hate this. Put them on medium. Sound is decent. The car noises are lifted from the rally car in Trackmania 1. I kinda despise it, but it's grown on me, and at least it predicted an engine restriction changes in Formula 1. Even then, they sound better than the stadium car. There is EAX acceleration as well as software 3D audio, but I couldn't test it in the game. I don't have an EAX comparable sound card for one, and I don't think it has software emulation for it. The music makes up for the audio shortcomings. They're all made by Do, and the 3 race songs are memorable the moment I started playing it, mostly because you're gonna hear them a lot in the races. Despite that, they're really good and much appropriate for the Olympics coverage. My favorite is Start Off. I always come back to that, It's like, whenever I think of Nations, this song just plays on my head. Alright, time to dig deep into the nitty-gritty. The controls are simple to learn and fun to play. It's accelerate, brake, and left and right. No gear changes, no handbrake, simple and intuitive. Although it's actually more deeper than you might think, it is better to play with a controller. I got called out for using a keyboard 2 years ago. I learned it the hard way. If you keep playing with the keyboard, I'll shoot you in the head.
You can't kill me!
Wait, no, I don't remember her using a 1911. If you're hunting for gold, it's no surprise that you have to get well the tracks. The beginner one, despite being super easy and super bland at times, requires a lot of precision to earn them. Much like any racer that isn't Mario Kart, you have to turn from outside to inside, then out for a faster time. Plus, you have to manage these long corners at high speed without braking, which takes balls to do so. Speaking of, braking made out to put the car in place is a neat trick, but it's also a double-edged sword. One is good for landing, obviously it will slow you down, so for tracks like E6, you brake just as you're about to reach this part while in the air. Some tracks will force you to drive on grass, which gives you way less grip with a chance of screwing up your concentration. You can even earn offer medals if you're really good enough.
No, get the camera!
What year is it anyway? I only owned a few of them. This one has a major cut on the first loop, easy offer. I tried to earn them, but after a few tries, I realized my name is not Riolu. Unlike in Sunrise, you can't respawn to the checkpoint you just passed, so if you press enter, you start the track all over again. This is just like the original Trackmania! No need to make tracks that are still finishable even with respawns, they still have to redo the track from the beginning. Because of that, it will be frustrating to finish a long track. The campaign tracks are a mixed bag. Some are delightful design with great scenery and memorable like I-9, and then you have shit like G1. I get that it plays like NASCAR only with turbo pods instead of 2 dozen or so drivers close to each other, but it looks like something I would make. Which means I can't. What I enjoy the most are the short tracks, so I think to get the best time compared to the long ones. Wait, that's just my stupid track! Take it out! But if you think you can do better than Nadio does, prove it by going to the editor. There's stuff like making tracks, editing replays, and pitting your cars. Don't! Seriously, this is just a novelty thing. Most skins you see in places like Trackmania Car Park are in zip files containing DDS files made with external image editing software, like Photoshop or GIMP. That should have gotten the better name, at least there's glimpse. If you try uploading a painter-made skin, that will get removed minutes after it. Trust me, I learned it the hard way. I mean, I didn't get banned, but still. And here's a revamped track editor based off Sunrise, and it is amazing. Much like the first game, all it requires is a start and finish and whatever imagination you have. But finally, I can use keyboard and mouse at its full potential. Plotting roads, slopes, banks, decorations, all with a simple mouse click and drag, instead of clicking arrows which makes it feel like I should use a controller. It's much easier to create a track obviously. I should have expected it from a free game, but there's so much you can do when it comes to decorations. There's only freeze buildings, pillars, and flippable shapes. That could be a good replacement for buildings if you're making city tracks and too poor for Sunrise. At least back in 2006. Nowadays, if you can find them, it's like 1 or 2 euros, but who cares, it's United. Back to Nations, some of the drawbacks is that there's only one time of day, or mood as the games call them, so with the combination of the lack of decorative objects, the tracks look all samey. Still, you can get creative with these blocks, especially the advertisement blocks, plus you can download skin packs for your tracks, here named mods. As a kid, I didn't know you can just put a zip file into the mod folder, you must create it though. Instead, I just replaced the default text with the ones from the mods. This was back when I didn't read tutorials and suck at English, have I mentioned that? But back to the good stuff, you can put a custom song that's in OGG or MOOCs format, and have little intros and outros using the media tracker. Just look how extensive it is. Make sections to plot a camera, add some goofy effects, images, sounds. It's so advanced for a freebie. I miss when you can slow down the camera movement. It seems impossible now to adjust an angle since United. When you have loops in the track, it is recommended to add a clip and then add a bumper camera to make traversing them much easier. Apparently there's a few Nadea tracks in the game that doesn't have it. Despite the limitations, the community has done a lot of work uploaded to the Nations subsite of Team Exchange. Here are some kinds of tracks you'll find there. There's the set of Nadia-like tracks, which are simple affairs that test your skills, but then you have the technical ones where you're gonna witness many transitions, building driving, and blind corners. It's best to study these tracks thoroughly if you want a good time. Nations introduced me to the concept of full speed. It's where you have to hold the gas button at all times without any voluntary slowdown. Holy shit, you have to stay focused on these kinds of tracks. You go so fast that you might as well exclusively use cam free.
The speed is a lot, mate.
Another one that's similar but not is the press forward tracks where, well, you only have to hold accelerate and see the matches until the finish. Making these kinds of tracks takes a lot of patience and mastery. Make sure objects don't break its path. And they're really crazy, although nightmare induces cam free if you have epilepsy or similar and we don't want to have a seizure. Speed tech is a mix of tech and full speed. Wow, who would have guessed it? It isn't always full speed, but it's still fast paced and takes a lot of concentration. And then there's the unique story tracks, which are quite a feat in track making and media tracker editing. They have a story to tell and involves a lot of clips, screens for scenes, and maybe some voice acting in there. One of the notorious ones is made by the eponymous Crusade, titled The Trump Card. It involves the military operation where you pin a target for an airstrike. And that's it. And it's still a fun track to race, coupled with some moments like traversing this minefield, helping the fire team, stopping this guy. This would have been the most awarded track in the Nations section, if it were for some standard Panis map. Would be embarrassing if that were 8-0. Another Crusade classic is Sweet Dreams, where you steal a candy from a boo. I hope I don't get DMCA by Nintendo. It's so pink, I love it. Then you have Venice Challenge from a fellow Portuguese named Tamonte. I hope it's Portuguese, where you get to race against this guy in either a car or a boat. It's just an image covering your car driving on grass. I shot the illusion for you! But one of the most important features that puts the series on the map is online multiplayer. Which, like I said, doesn't work anymore, at least for me. Pretend it's ESWC. Here's a quick look at Nations Forever. This was made in April 2008, just a day after United Forever. It's basically a fully updated version with new challenges, interface overhaul, physics changes, and several crossplay with United players. It pretty much plays the same with similar tactics and all, although you notice that the physics are different when it races on an ESWC made tracks, which are compatible with this game. Even a few 2006 United made tracks, notably the press forward tracks, are impossible to finish now. The new campaign tracks are locked behind medals, where anything beyond white requires you to get silver or gold, much like the first two games at United. They have more emphasis with the platform blocks, either doing this or carried over from United, so they might have some full speed ass tracks here. They are more unique looking than the ESWC and with dirt paths which are more grippier than grass and bouncing water physics, and they're still as enjoyable as in the old game, if not way more. The editor remains the same, but there are more blocks to place like two different kinds of platforms, lit roads, and more decorations, including inflatable trees. Plus there's now 4 moves from morning to night, and on the media tracker, you cannot go set GPS instead of a camera swooping over the track. I still don't know the use for triangles. You also have stuff lifted from United like menu links, the middle part of the main menu, social features, and other crap that I might cover in my Unite review. The online is still a thing, thankfully, although nowadays the servers tend to have these heavily bloated HUDs showing a bunch of leaderboards and voting windows, which can get distracting. Also, some like to play custom music. It's mostly pop shit that I tend to dislike in general. Just give me Dua Lipa, please. But besides that, it's all fancy as heck. All of the players are cursed so no disruptive crashes, and most of the servers are time attack sessions which usually take 5 or 6 minutes per track. They are the most popular and most draining to my CPU due to the amount of players shown, but there's also rounds where you earn points per race to be a winner of the track, cup which is like rounds but you earn points per track, and last where you must complete a set amount of laps to win. It's really fun to launch tracks you've never driven, especially in the round servers. Unfortunately, due to some advertisement company closing down back in 2010, Nadeo did some changes to Nations. Free players only play on these free zone servers, which will force you to expect it 1 in every 5 races, unless you bought UF. I mean, sure, they can't make money from adverts now, but imagine if TF2 did something heinous in its official servers. You can still play non-free zone servers if you just happen to favorite them before this whole charade. Could have been worse. Would have been paying $10 for a yearly subscription which unlocks a track editor that's actually a one-time purchase too. This is so ridiculous. Can't they just charge $10 for the full deal instead of being a more restrictive F2P game? I never played Trackmania 2020, but you get my point. Fortunately, you can still use custom models for cars. Presentation is somewhat better, more colorful than in ESWC thanks to the different moves of the tracks. Although you'll be waiting for the shadows to be done when you've set them in high or complex on the settings. Audio is the same, but the music is all remixed. I do like them, but I just think they're unfitting. I prefer listening to the old versions. So what do I think of the two? Well, Nations ESWC is what got me hooked on the series. I had loads of fun discovering tracks, coming up with stupid course ideas, and playing with other people online. Without it, I wouldn't be making these Trackmania Track Monthly videos, despite having low views. But by now, it's a novelty thing, much like previous Trackmania entries prior to, well, United and Nations Forever. While I like it, you're better off with getting the latter since you won't have to deal with software on modern systems. It has a lot more content when it comes to track making, and the presentation upgrade keeps it from being dated. Nations Forever is a game that I like, despite me being spoiled by United Forever, so if you want that, getting it is pointless. Regardless, you'll get a ton of fun driving and making custom tracks.